When wild fishing for large crucian carp in summer, keep these 4 foraging rules in mind to double your harvest. Many people love fishing for crucian carp because this freshwater fish is extremely widespread. Where there is water, there are crucian carp, making them a common catch in anglers' nets. However, despite their wide distribution, crucian carp are not as easy to catch in the hot summer weather. To fish for crucian carp successfully in such hot weather, you need to start from their foraging habits. Mastering these habits will give you more opportunities. Today, let's talk about those foraging habits of crucian carp. 1. Tendency to forage by digging in mud. Carp are typical bottom-dwelling fish that like to forage by digging in the mud at the bottom, hence many call carp the bottom scavenger or bottom pig. In fact, crucian carp also have the habit of foraging in the bottom mud, but they are not as persistent as carp, so crucian carp can be seen in all water layers. However, crucian carp are fundamentally benthic fish, spending most of their time at the bottom. Therefore, based on the habit of crucian carp foraging by digging in the bottom mud, fishing for crucian carp should focus on the bottom, and not be too sensitive. In summer, the dissolved oxygen at the bottom is low, so crucian carp will look for places with high oxygen content and food. Choose fishing spots where there are dead branches and decaying aquatic plants at the bottom, or areas with many aquatic plants or flowing water, which have high dissolved oxygen and abundant food. For float adjustment, you can try adjusting to level water and fishing to eyes, allowing the lead sinker to lie slightly on the bottom so that crucian carp are not affected by the resistance of the line group when foraging. 2 Unique feeding frenzy quirks. As we all know, when fishing and making a nest, once the nest is formed and there are a large number of fish in the nest, a feeding frenzy will occur, and the bite is often good at this time. But crucian carp are different. They also have a feeding frenzy, which seems to be an instinctive habit. Whether there is more or less bait in the nest, as long as there are 2 or more crucian carp in the nest, they will compete for food, giving the impression that others' things are good, so I want to grab them. Therefore, making good use of this habit can keep the bites continuous. When making a nest for crucian carp, do not concentrate the nest material too much. Scatter 2 to 3 small nests around the fishing spot, spaced 1 to 2 meters apart. When crucian carp find food in one nest, the fish in other nests will come to compete for food. Use lure bait for fishing and increase the frequency of casting once every 10 to 15 seconds to simulate a continuous supply of food. Add some crushed snail meat and shrimp powder to the nest material to spread the smell quickly. However, due to the high temperature in summer, the nest material is best prepared and used on the spot. 3. Swimming up and slipping away after eating the bait. When fishing for crucian carp, after sucking the bait into their mouths, crucian carp will habitually swim upward, so there is a very obvious float phase when fishing for crucian carp, that is, the float first moves slightly, and then floats upward, which is the float rising. Therefore, when this float phase appears when fishing for crucian carp, the hookup rate is very high. In summer, the light is strong and the water surface fluctuates greatly, so use a slender jujube-shaped float, which turns over quickly and is sensitive to signals. The line group should not be too thick. The main line of No 1.0 to 1.2 and the sub-line of No 0.4 to 0.6 are sufficient. Thin lines are more conducive to crucian carp raising their heads. When you see the float moving slightly, don't be in a hurry. Wait until the float rises steadily by 1 to 2 eyes before lifting the rod. In summer, the fish are active, and the timing of lifting the rod is crucial. For preference for small-sized bait. After making the nest, carp and black carp will generally pick the large pieces of bait first when they enter the nest. But crucian carp are different. They eat the small pieces first, from small to large. Therefore, adding wine rice to the bait is a common trick used by experienced anglers when fishing for crucian carp. Small particles can not only attract fish but also keep fish. Commercial bait can be added with fried soybean powder and sesame powder to increase atomization and the effect of keeping fish. The above are the 4 foraging habits of crucian carp. Mastering these foraging habits and adjusting the fishing method according to them, not to mention a bumper harvest, can at least increase the hookup rate to a certain extent.